when the Pope refers to the Jewish people, the previous Pope, the Pope before that, it has become common to refer to the Jewish people as our older brother in faith. How interesting. Older brother? That's what the whole issue was about. Who is the older brother? Where Jacob wrestles with the angel. So the first really significant, fascinating thing is, if you read the text, there is no mention of an angel. Jacob was left alone, and he wrestled with the man until dawn. And then the man said, "Let me go." And Jacob said, "No, I won't let you go until you give me your blessing." And he asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name is not going to be Jacob anymore. It's going to be Israel from now on." That's the whole story. There is no mention of an angel. It explicitly, specifically, clearly says a man, Ish. But we all know it was an angel. How do we know? Because the oral Torah, recorded by our sages, tell us that that was the case. Which means that without the oral Torah, without our sages, we don't know what the Torah is saying. Without them, we would read it simply and literally, and we would say he wrestled with a guy. And then the question is, so what's the big deal? Well, the guy injured him. He dislocated his thigh bone, his hip bone. Yeah, well, so what's the big deal? Well, it's because of that we don't eat the meat of the section of the animal that is the sciatic nerve, because that's where Jacob was injured. Well, now the whole story becomes bizarre. He wrestled with somebody, he won, he defeated the guy, but was injured in the process, and that's why we don't eat. This is really like, come on, what kind of story is this? So, going back to Jacob and his brother Esau. The angel that Jacob wrestled with was the ministering angel of the nation of Edom, which is Esau. Every legitimate nation has a representative angel in heaven that looks out for its interest. There are countries that don't have an angel. Well, we call those banana republics. They are not sovereign states. To be a sovereign state, you have to have an angel representing you in heaven. The sages always speak about 70 nations, the 70 nations of the world. Well, we know there are more than 70 countries. But not every country is a sovereign country. A country that cannot declare war is not a sovereign country. Maybe a country that can't win a war is also not a sovereign country. So every nation has an angel. When the sages say that before God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, he offered it to all the nations. Who did he speak to? Right? When he offered it to all the nations, who did he speak to? The king, the emperor, the chief. He spoke to the angel. He spoke to the angel representing the nation and said, "Will your people accept this?" And the angel said, "I don't think so. It's not for us." So the angel that Jacob was wrestling with was Esau's angel. What was the wrestling match all about? Well, three guesses. Which of the two is the Bechor? Who is the firstborn? That's what Jacob and Esau in the flesh argued about. Jacob bought the rights of the firstborn from Esau. And then he got the blessings of the firstborn instead of Esau. And Esau contested that and was going to kill him for it. So finally, to decide the issue, resolve the issue once and for all, Jacob had to take on the angel representing Esau. And he prevailed. When he prevailed, dawn broke and the angel needed to go back to heaven because there's a certain time of mourning when the angels sing their song of praise to God. So the angel said, "Let me go." And Jacob said, "You're not going. I want your blessing." What blessing did he want? He wanted the angel to admit that he is the firstborn, resolved once and for all. And the angel did. And then he said to him, "Your name has been Jacob, but from now on it's going to be Israel." What does Israel mean? Wrestling with God or angel. You wrestled with an angel and you won. That's going to be your name from now on. The angel was able to injure Jacob in his hip bone, in the sciatic nerve. And for a while, Jacob was limping. The meaning of that is Jacob could not be subdued under the rulership of Esau. As strong as Esau was, Jacob would not submit. But in the future, some of Jacob's descendants will be defeated by the descendants of Esau. And that's represented by the hip. Like the descendants are issue of their loins. So descendants are sometimes described as the loins or the thigh. So there the angel was able to injure Jacob's descendants. Now, the most famous of Esau's descendants was a guy named Rome. In English, it's called Rome, or in Latin. One of Esau's descendants, which means that Rome, considered at some time the capital of Europe, is a descendant of Esau. It is also the birthplace of Christianity as a religion, or the center of Christianity. So there were Jews who were intimidated by the Inquisition or the laws of forced conversion. And that's because the angel of Esav was able not to defeat Jacob, but to injure him. It's very interesting. And you see how Torah is still alive and unfolding. When the Pope refers to the Jewish people, the previous Pope, the Pope before that, it has become common to refer to the Jewish people as our older brother in faith. How interesting. Older brother? That's what the whole issue was about. Who is the older brother? And the angel agreed and admitted that Jacob was the older brother. But that message didn't trickle down into the world, into the human beings, for almost 2,000 years. But then when it did, this is how it was worded. It was actually said, our older brothers in faith. So the Torah is still playing out. All the prophecies are still unfolding exactly as it was prophesied. The Jews would come to the promised land. They would be dispersed to the four corners of the earth, scattered all over. After a long time, they will return. All of it is playing itself out exactly as it was described, with all of its details. So when we read the Torah, it's almost like reading current events. When it says that there's going to be a fight to the finish and everyone will be destroyed, the Armageddon, it doesn't mean physically. It means ideologically. Eventually, and now, of course, it's eventually is up. We have reached eventually. Like, save putting money aside for a rainy day. Well, it's raining. Eventually, all questions of faith have to be resolved. You can't have 10 commandments, but two different versions. It has to be resolved ideologically, theologically. We can't have two gods. We can't have two Torahs. We can't have two sets of morality. We've got to come to a conclusion, to a unified field theory. One morality, one God for everybody. Not one religion. A variety of religions is beautiful. But you can't have debate on morality. For that, you need clarity. Yes or no, right or wrong, good or bad. Now, if you want to pray to God 5 times a day, beautiful. Want to pray 3 times a day? Great. Once a week? Okay. But we can't have people saying murder is okay sometimes when I think so. When I say so, it's okay. Now, we can't have that. So the final battle is not going to be with guns and bullets. The final battle is going to be the the establishment of clarity, of a united consensus of what is true, what God said, what God wants, and how we serve Him. And that will affect the entire world, everybody in the world. More than World War II affected everybody. Those who believe in God will have to sort out exactly what it is they believe. Those who don't believe in God will have to make an adjustment because it is God's world after all. So that clarity, that consensus, that clear and unquestionable moral correctness, that's the ultimate showdown. And the sooner that happens, the better. So now we understand. On the one hand, we are told that the time will come when everyone will live in peace and there's going to be utopian existence and the world is going to be perfect. And on the other hand, we're told, oh, there's going to be this big war, everybody's going to die. Okay, you can't have it both ways. There's going to be a big showdown, which will result in eternal peace. Because when we have only one morality, when we have only one code of God's laws, then there's no reason for any war, for any competition, for any jealousy. So there will be genuine peace in the world after the big showdown. And the showdown is happening as we speak. When people are asking, why am I here? What is the purpose? How do I know? What's the truth? That's good. And when those questions are answered, we will have real peace in the world. That's the story of Jacob and Esau. Their issue was not about a bowl of soup. It was the philosophy of life. It was the way of God, the purpose of existence. That's what they were fighting about. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. These ideas, these messages, this approach to life, this approach to Torah, to meaning, and to morals is vital for the world today. And we need to get this message out to the entire world. It is universal, it's essential, it's indispensable. To support this effort, if you want to be a partner in this crime, check out the link and make a donation. It really helps a lot. And thank you in advance.